The Elite 8 assets, ladies and gentlemen. These are the 8 assets that I will be holding from now until 2028. I've broken this bag down into 4 quadrants. You may recognize this as the design and structure of the channel's homepage here on YouTube, where we have the playlist broken down into sectors: enterprise, infrastructure networks, DeFi protocols, and gaming slash Web3. I put them all in the same boat. But that is how the portfolio is broken up as well. I have 2 enterprise assets, 2 infrastructure assets, infrastructure networks. These are networks that connect other networks. 2 gaming and 2 DeFi assets. Now, let's start with gaming because these 2 were the easiest to decide on. I'm focused on virtual worlds fan engagement with this play, so I'm going with Immutable X and Flow from Dapper Labs. I've praised Immutable X enough. We understand the innovation that was the Immutable Passport. No one else has been able to replicate that. We see the benefits of ZK and once they went full steam and brought it over to Immutable, because remember, it was a shared thing with Polygon, it improved the gaming experience even more. And the final feather in the cap, Robbie Ferguson is pointing out, which is the CEO for Immutable, he's pointing out how the Clarity Act has language in it that paves the way for mainstream companies, entertainment brands, Grand Theft Auto, to come out with their own gaming token. I am not missing that wave because it'll kick off 2027. Mark my words. The Clarity Act will be signed into law. Let's say we get it for Christmas. We got to wait at least 12 months for companies to first learn blockchain, learn Web3, learn how a tokenized economy would even fit in their game. Then they have to learn about the new in-game economies. All of these things have to be studied, researched. People have to be hired to study. That takes time. But I can see as we get ready for the next election cycle, the next halving cycle, things starting to sound familiar, right? We're going to start getting announcements from major game companies. We're going to get announcements from major entertainment companies about their brand new Web3 product. That's what I'm seeing, folks. And on the other side of that is the Flow blockchain. Flow is from Dapper Labs. Dapper Labs gave us NBA Top Shot a few years ago. Now, I would give credit to the Flow blockchain for kicking off the NFT era in crypto. A little bit before the metaverse became a thing during the 2021 run. Prior to that, it was the NFTs. Everybody had a fancy new NFT project. Flow, however, showed up with the first IP-based NFT project that was backed by a major name in the form of the National Basketball Association. They're getting ready to take that to the next level. And I don't want to miss out on what they're doing. Flow is a Web3 protocol that allows businesses and people like me and you to build Web3 fan engagement economies, if that makes sense, or the digital collectibles that can be used pretty much anywhere. When you look at their website, you'll see they got relationships with Disney, Marvel, Mattel. And these are companies that are starting to now study Web3 and figure out how they can further monetize their IPs. The reason why I picked Flow, because I know a lot of you are like, what about that Chili's thing with the sports? I'm going to tell you the reason why. One, strategically, I want to keep all of my assets on one platform. Flow, as well as Immutable, and the rest of the assets on the list are all on Uphold. So that makes it easy. Two, Chile still has to overcome the US barrier. Flow has been operating here in North America, in the United States, since inception. They've never come across any regulatory issues when it comes to their NFTs or digital collectibles. And there was a ruling in 2023 from the SEC stating that NFTs wouldn't be considered securities. Doubling back to the Clarity Act, that same language that paves the way for gaming tokens on chains like Immutable also clears the path for digital assets, digital tokens, digital collectibles that Flow builds. So when it comes to gaming and Web3, I'm going virtual worlds fan engagement, and I'm doing it through Immutable X and Dapper Labs Flow blockchain. Now let's move forward. Let's talk DeFi. This one was a bit tougher, and I only made the decision in the last couple of days. I'm going with the DeFi King, Ethereum, and the RWA Herald in Ondo Finance. I have read so much about. Let me stop my timer here because I'm going over. That's just what it is. I have read so much about Ethereum in my 5.5 years in this space that if you ask me, would anybody flip it anytime soon? I'm going to look you dead in the eye and I'm going to tell you, you are out of your flipping mind. You're out your flipping mind. Okay? It is now undisputed that Ethereum is the backbone of this entire thing. Bitcoin is the front man. Ethereum is the offensive line. Okay? Bitcoin's the quarterback. Ethereum's the offensive line. And we got 5 horses. Okay? Big hogs on our offensive line thanks to Ethereum. I'm done with the sports analogies, but there's no disputing Ethereum anymore. The CBDCs, the stable coins, the DeFi, the gaming, the institutionals, the RWAs, it's all going to Ethereum first. And now that Ethereum is proof of stake, this is the best chance to truly get into Ethereum, especially while it's still under 4,000. I've seen Ethereum above 4,000. Ooh, wee Jenkins, okay? I should bring this up as well, and I'll mention more a little bit about this as we get into the allocations, but I'm also staking ETH through Uphold, 2.5%. Now, my understanding of staking has changed in the last few months because I've also been exploring other investment channels through my credit union. I've been messing around with CDs that give me certain yield on, the amounts that I put in there. And I'm looking at the staking setup last night, and I'm like, this is a certificate of deposit on blockchain. It's the exact same thing. And if you treat it as such, it makes investing in it so much easier. So I'm going with Ethereum, excuse me, as the king of DeFi. Ondo Finance and the Ondo chain and their work with JP Morgan, Connexus, having Patrick McHenry on the council, the U.S. clearance already, the acquisition of a SEC registered capital markets company. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that, but you guys know about the acquisition I'm talking about. I see Ondo Finance as the stellar for RWAs. That's the feeling I'm getting here. That's my feeling, guys. I have a connection to Ondo, an understanding of Ondo in relation to RWAs, the same way that I have a deep understanding of how Stellar is fit into the world of payments. Again, it's not conversions. It's not, being a bridge asset. It is the new generation. I thought I had my wallet here. But it's the new generation of wallets. They're all in here now. They'll all be in here going forward. That's where Stellar's bag is. Ondo is building out the rails for companies to get involved with the tokenization of their real world assets. Yes, private credit. Yes, US treasuries. Yes, commodities like gold and silver. But what about other forms of assets, such as digital documents and credit lines? And, well, not credit lines, they're digital documentation. So we're talking real estate trusts, real estate deeds here. Certain legal contracts will also be tokenized. So I see Ondo Finance capturing that market share because they already built the relationships with the biggest enterprises that entered RWA first. So that gives them a leg up. When I get into the allocations, it'll all make a little bit of sense, though. My positioning, that'll truly lock things in here. But as far as DeFi, Ethereum, and Ondo, that's what I'm going with. Now let's go over to infrastructure. Again, infrastructure networks are networks that I consider that connect other networks. That's how I'm looking at it. So yes, you have Ethereum and its abundance of layer twos, but I'm talking about networks that are interoperable with multiple chains. And these two networks are going to shock you. The first one is Bitcoin. I am not missing the Bitcoin boat. I have sat back since 2019 and watched person after person after person after person become a Bitcoin millionaire. And if price projections are true for Bitcoin over the next 5 years, just next 5 years, there is still time for you to make a boatload of money with Bitcoin. Still time. In addition to that, guys, the next era of Bitcoin, and I believe I made this argument in 2023 when Bitcoin was added to the Elite Eight then. The next era of Bitcoin includes the Lightning Network. It includes DeFi. It includes ordinals or NFTs in the form of BRC20. And it also includes gaming. What I'm getting at here is there are multiple networks connecting themselves to Bitcoin right now that are bringing utility to the big B. Up to this point, we had not seen a utility era for Bitcoin. But now the network is capable of doing it. I truly lean on what Jack Dorsey and his guys over at Block are going to do with the Lightning Network. And they aren't the only ones. Look into a company called River Financial. They make use of the Lightning Network. And they also study other companies that make use of the Lightning Network. The Lightning Network is the underlying channel for Bitcoin that is instant. Instant for Bitcoin standards, okay? Still takes 2 minutes roughly, depending on your connection to the internet, but it's the fastest form of Bitcoin. And if now things are going to change to align with the original premise of the Bitcoin white paper, where Bitcoin is used as a transaction layer, a peer-to-peer currency, it will be the Lightning Network to manifest that. And like I said, I have researched hours, days, months, and I know it's coming. On top of that, if we're talking money, with our Elite 8 portfolio study from 2023, we pretty much mathematically proved that holding Bitcoin in your portfolio will make you more money. So, read a bunch of reports about that. Now we have the numbers to support it. So going forward, I'm not missing anything about Bitcoin. In addition, now there are easier ways to invest. I am investing in Bitcoin through Cash App. It is automated. A lot of these, as a matter of fact, all of these investments are automated. I'm going to get into that too. But let me finish this list out. Next to Bitcoin, in the realm of infrastructure, I'm going with Solana. Solana is getting ready to drop hardware on this market. And not many people can see it today. Give it 3 years. When Solana has a mobile phone that is just as popular as Metro PCS, we don't even need to get to the big time. Just Metro. You start taking a little market share away from Metro as a crypto company, people are going to start talking about that. Okay? I want to say Solana. I remember watching Solana. What was it? Almost $400. Yeah, I want a piece of that as well. Also, Solana staking. Pretty good rates here. I'm getting 6.9% staking Solana on Uphold. I believe Solana is the next generation of Ethereum. I'm also going into Solana because with it being in the top 10 market cap, when I go to present this portfolio, to leverage this portfolio, to get extra funding, or let's just say I want to make a play where I'm going to get a house. When they read the assets that I'm holding and they see Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, the top 3, that makes the portfolio look a lot better, ladies and gentlemen. So far we got Immutable Flow, Ethereum, Ondo, Bitcoin, and Solana. Now let's talk about the enterprise assets. Enterprise assets are assets that I consider those helping banks, organizations, financial institutions with embedding blockchain technology into their existing systems. For that, I'm going with Stellar and XRP. Yep, XRP made the cut, ladies and gentlemen. And it's for the same reasons as Ethereum, as Bitcoin, as Immutable. I've done the research. And every bit of information that I have come across has confirmed to me that you cannot go wrong with either one. So I'm holding both. Let's get this money. All right. So I'm holding both. Let's get this money. Do I need to go into why Stellar and XRP? I don't think I do. You guys already know what they're going to offer, what they're going to do, where they're going to be placed. We've touched on it so many times in this episode itself. Stellar could very well be the backbone for college sports in the future. When it comes to the XRP ledger, now that they have EVM compatibility, I ain't going nowhere. Now that they have smart contracts, I ain't going nowhere. In the previous cycle, Stellar and XRP didn't have the stablecoin presence that they have today. They didn't have smart contracts, which means that they were miles away from DeFi. That's another thing. The rise in yield opportunities for XRP will make the next leg up that much stronger. We won't be waiting another 2 years to see XRP crack $3. I can guarantee you that. So that is why I have added them to the Elite 8. Now let's end with the most important portion here. Allocations. How am I going to divide this basket up? I love the stories that we've gotten recently about treasury companies because they're also breaking down how they're dividing the assets, the allocations. 25% is going into BTC. That's just the smartest thing to do. That's the quarterback. That's the leader of the market. It has historically performed better than any other asset. So if you want your portfolio to do the same thing, you add Bitcoin. 20% goes to both Ethereum and Solana. I'm putting 20% into my staked assets because that's going to continue to generate income on its own after a while. Then we have 10% to XLM and XRP. Why 10%? Well, I'm trying to play this smart. And they're only getting 10%. One, because the yield hasn't kicked in yet. And two, there are still some things that we can see down the road that may be very big barriers to adoption for both networks. Because yes, Stellar is the king when it comes to wallets. But what is the chances of another network popping up to challenge Stellar directly? We can't rule that out, ladies and gentlemen. Same thing goes for the XRP ledger. Admittedly, Ripple's battle with the SEC held the ledger back. So there is still a few barriers that they have to overcome. That would explain the 10%. And then for the last three, 5% into Ondo, 5% into IMX, and 5% into Dapper Labs Flow blockchain. 5%. Well, those are riskier markets. RWA could collapse at any moment because they find a new way to do it. Just got to be aware of those things. Same can be said for blockchain games. Yes, the Clarity Act paves the way for these tokens to be created, but what guarantees that they choose immutable? I'm aware of these things here. Okay. And when you go to build your portfolio, I want you to carry this same line of thinking. Same thing goes for flow. Dealing with the entertainment industry in general, there's a thin line. It's very fickle because of its trendy, fleeting nature. So when investing into fan engagement, digital collectibles, digital art, don't put all your eggs into that basket because that basket is made of wicker. Wicker ain't real durable. So that is my approach towards that. Now, on my website, I did write an article here, or I'm crafting, it probably will be up by the end of the week. So if you're watching this later in the week, yeah, I wrote an article and it'll be on my website. It'll give you more details in full about the portfolio, as well as what I'm holding in the stock market. I am applying the exact same strategy to the stock market, with the exception of there's an extra asset. I got 9 stocks that I'm holding. I'll tell you those are Nvidia, Circle, Coinbase, Google Class A, Netflix, Paramount Class B, PayPal, Roblox, and a juicy little fund that I discovered called the JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF. $58 a share, 30-day yield, 8.5%, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's on Robinhood. Oh, man. So, like I said, I am actively praying for a correction because I'm ready to start the season over. I'm ready to start the season 0-0. Clean slate. Because by 2028, I plan to be filthy rich. Very much so. So with that, I hope you guys take my advice. Not as financial, of course. You know how we like to do it. Coffee table talk. But I hope to see y'all in 2028 with all these bags and these dollars that we're going to get with this new strategy, with this plan. Like I said, guys, that's it for this show. Again, if you made it to the end, drop DHN down in the comments. I want to thank y'all for rocking with me. And if you want to support the channel, don't forget to check out the new website, digitalhustlenetwork.net. With that, y'all know what time it is. If that money is digital, so is the hustle.